Okay, strap yourselves in. This might be a long one. Hi, Scott Action Jackson here, and I'm here with one of many that I said I was gonna do as far as topics. Some of these top lists. Well, attempt to be a top list. This one specifically is gonna be a long ass one because it's more or less gonna be covering my favorite superhero movies of all time, from before I was born to more recent stuff. Which that kind of covers a large area. And some cases I'm going to be doubling them up, and some cases I'm not, because it's going to be a bit, like I said, it's going to be long overall, so hopefully I can try and get this into one video. If not, it'll be into separate videos. So what do we start off with? Superman 1 and 2. The Christopher Reeves. Now, I've done a video about the first Superman movie, and I don't think I need to touch up any more on how hopeful this movie feels. And Superman 2 is a continuation, although in some cases slightly different depending on which version you watch, because there is the original theatrical version and the Richard Donner cut. And I still wish they would put those two on one package like they did with the Superman movie, where you got the special edition and long-ass 3-hour edition in one Blu-ray package. But yeah, original Superman 1978, before I was born. Superman 2 1980, a year after I was born, but I didn't see these two until maybe like a couple years later. And to me, this is the most definitive version of Superman I've seen, the Christopher Reeve version of it. Although some of the other stuff in the movies can be campy at times. The Toxic Avenger from 1984. Now this has a cult following, if you will, and in some cases a classic cult following. Many people like this, even though it's a very low-budget horror superhero spoof, but it is kind of a superhero movie. Now, I know I plan on making a video covering the Toxic Avenger at some point, so I'll probably leave details about that there. Although I probably should give a bit of history with me and this movie. See, I know this movie is like a very hard R at times, especially with the weird budget gory scenes. And I saw this movie when I was very young. In fact, I probably still have the VHS tape of it somewhere. I've picked up, I think, multiple DVD versions of it, one of which is supposed to be an anniversary edition and had serious issues with the video to audio playback on. Because sometimes the audio kept being delayed. Doesn't anybody actually bother to check these before they make them? And The Toxic Avenger is more or less one of my favorite trauma movies ever. While I have tried watching some of the other trauma movies, I can't quite get behind them. I mean, I can get behind some of the Toxic Avenger movies, not all of them, mind you. But once again, I'll say that for the video that I'm making at some point. RoboCop. It's kind of interesting. I go from low-budget gory to a better budget gory. Because, let's face it, RoboCop is a gory-ass movie. It has blood splatter all over the place. I think this is another one of those movies that I didn't see in theater. This is one of those movies that I saw on cable when I was young and probably shouldn't have. Since it was so gory and had probably a little bit of language. Not as bad as it could have been, because I think on the cable TV versions, they had it censored down with the language and different angles for the gory, violent shots. I remember, I think I do have I have the DVD, I think I have two DVD versions of RoboCop. One is the uncut, I think, steelbook case version. RoboCop is one of those sci-fi, supposed to be futuristic sci-fi movies that is kind of a superhero movie in its own way. Now, I probably won't give too much details on some of these movies because it's easy for people to go and look this stuff up on Wikipedia or IMDb, so I probably shouldn't give too much details, or probably don't need to give too much details on the plot of these movies. Return of Swamp Thing. I can honestly say I prefer this sequel over the original because it's campier and funnier. While the original one tried to be like a horror drama, this one is more or less a campy monster fighting explosions. And this is 1989, so this is just prior to the 90s, so 90s had some interesting times along with, I guess, the year just before it, because I remember The Return of Swamp Thing. I think I've seen it the most when it was on USA. And I know it has some of its odd, funny moments. Batman, 1989. This is a great Batman movie. I like how they have Batman and Joker in here. I think they did a good job casting Joker with Jack Nicholson. There's some parts of this movie that's weird, but a lot of it is badass. I did see this in the movie theaters when I was probably an early teen, if I had to guess. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. Wow, what can we say about this movie? It's weird that it was an independent movie and got picked up by New Line Cinema to be distributed. It's kind of a weird thing. From what I've heard, it's like one of the highest grossing independent films of the time, since no major company wanted to put its name on it. I remember seeing this in the movie theaters. I loved it. I've seen it multiple times. I've had the VHS. I probably still have the VHS, the original VHS with the box and stuff. I think I had the DVD, which had a weird sewer maze game in it. I have the Blu-ray set that has this one, the second, the third, and the TMNT movie. The one thing that confuses me about the physical releases of this, over here in America, we have stuff missing from this movie that could make it better. Because I know over in some other foreign country, I forgot which one it is, they have a physical copy of it on DVD, I think, that includes an add-on to the ending and some additional footage from the Shredder Foot Clan. Now, I don't know if they're going to try and wait until like the 50th anniversary of the movie or something like that to include that in a physical media here in the US, but it's a damn shame that we didn't get that here. I mean, I know you can look up some of the stuff on YouTube, but it's not exactly good quality. For those of you who don't know, if you have the comic book adaptation or had the sticker book of this movie, you kind of know what I mean by the extra in where April take her drawn pictures to a comic book company. Yeah, this is another case where I was still in my teens, and it was a good movie, and I think I had maybe a friend or two also enjoyed this too, because I think I was would I have been in junior high? But I had a few friends who were also into the Turtles as well, and this version of the Turtles is one of my favorite versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles team ever, but I think I'll save that for another video as well. Darkman from 1990. Yeah, this is the first superhero Sam Raimi movie. And Sam Raimi was hardly attached to any of the sequels, because it went on to make a Darkman 2 and a Darkman 3, and then I think there was a pilot for a possible Darkman series. And I know I tried picking up the Darkman comics, and it was interesting, but I couldn't quite get attached. Like most of the Sam Raimi stuff that I've seen, I really liked this. I mean, I prefer watching this one over and over again, and sometimes this one and the second one. because I like hero enemy thing with Darkman and Durant. The Guyver. It's interesting how they did this movie. Interesting's putting it lightly. I like the design of the Guyver. Well, some of the stuff they did with the other monsters is odd. And it's weird that Mark Hamill had top billing for this movie, yet Mark Hamill wasn't the guy who was the Guyver. Mark Hamill's character eventually got. Weirdest thing about this Guyver movie is that it's an American adaptation of the manga and anime that they had. I didn't know if he actually had like regeneration powers in the manga or the anime, so I don't know that much about the Japanese main source. The Meteor Man, 1993. This was a fun little superhero movie. It follows a teacher who gains superhero powers by meteorite and helps his community even with gang that tries to trash and destroy stuff. The weird thing is I really enjoyed this movie. I kind of like these like local community heroes, which is probably kind of why I like the Spider-Man character as well. Batman, Mask of Phantasm from 1993. So I'm going to go ahead and say this, even though this is animated. To me, this has been the best big screen Batman we've ever had. Even though it follows the line of the animated series, this is going to be as close as we're going to have to a perfect Batman and Bruce Wayne on the big screen. This movie right here. Now, this movie is kind of a prequel and currently set in the animated series. I know that they threw this out on VHS. It was on DVD. They did throw it out on Blu-ray, but I don't know if it was included with the animated series sets or not. I mean, I think it should be since it ties in with the series. The Crow, 1994. This movie is famous for probably wrong reason. This was the last movie of Brandon Lee because he died while making this movie. A lot of people can look up about how it happened during the movie production. It's just a sad thing. I think it was just prior to this is when I saw The Dragon, the story of Bruce Lee, that starred Brandon Lee. And I saw this. That sucks. I mean, it kind of goes along with the Lee curse that was going on. The Crow movie had great visuals, and was an interesting story that they wrote. Part of me wants to check out the comic line that it's based off of, to see how it compares to this movie. This is another one that I saw in the movie theaters. I had the DVD, the first DVD that came out of it, and kept it, because they re-released the DVD, but without all the extra bonus features that I love in those sets. If they have a physical release and come with bonus features, I'm all for it. Blade, 1998. You know all those people who were talking about how was the very first Marvel movie with an R rating and very successful? Fuck them. Now, I enjoyed what Wesley Snipes brought to the Blade character. I know I remember watching the Blade character show up in the Spider-Man animated series, and wasn't quite too sure how I felt about him in there. I love what Wesley Snipes brought to the character Blade. I liked the second one as well, not as much as the first one. The third one is could have been better. And recently, the Marvel movie maker said that they're going to be doing a new Blade movie. And I hope Wesley Snipes has at least a role in it. I think they did cast the guy who's going to be playing Blade. And a lot of people are wondering why they didn't bring in Wesley Snipes. Because it would be interesting if they did have Wesley Snipes playing Blade again. It's like, oh, guess what? That original movie ties into the MCU. But it's like, no, they won't do that. I mean, it'd be interesting if they tried to have Wesley Snipes play the mentor for Blade this time around. Or at least somebody who helps out once in a while. There you go. I think that's where I'm going to cut off as far as the first part of my favorite superhero movies. Because this is just before 2000. And trust me, there's a whole lot more to go through.